The chosen ones for us from observation.
Because she knows exactly what is needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you can close your laptop first. Okay, good afternoon everyone.
Good afternoon, teacher Jenny.
How are you? Have you had your lunch?
Yes, fasting.
Yes. Huh? You're fasting?
Yeah.
Oh, when did you start?
No, I haven't start. It's gonna start on same day as CNY, but I have to pay back last year's one.
Oh.
Maybe you can pay back the next year before. Okay, so sorry, I got my drinks here now.
I'm fine.
Okay, can. The rest of you already had your lunch?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know why you're here today? For
For induction.
So do you know what is the topic we're talking about today?
Privacy, social.
Scaffolding children.
Okay, so today's topic is mainly about privacy theory on scaffolding. So I think last week I did send out a video for you all to watch and to reflect. So maybe for now I just show you my slide. Okay, so today's focus, like what you have mentioned, right, is on scaffolding children's learning and using it through Petal. Have you heard about Petal, this approach under microscope? Yes. Maybe you want to tell me a little bit more of your understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, exploring,
Mhm.
like learning,
What's the reason?
thinking.
Thinking. Yeah. So when you're looking at scaffolding versus Petal, right? So while we are looking through the slides, maybe I want you to try to put these to link them together, and then to think about like based on what you have watched in the video, and also based on what we are doing in our center using the Petal approach and how to link them together for children's learning. And then our focus today is also on children's social and emotional competencies, like what we have been talking about through last year and this year. Okay. And so this is the video that I showed you, like I sent to you last week to do some reflection. Maybe each of you can give me one takeaway based on the question that I have provided for you, like describing one example of a child learning something with your support rather than independently. We have how do you decide when to step in and how much support to provide in that situation, and also how did what you said or did during play help the child think, explore or use what they were learning. So maybe give you some time to think about this and then to share what you have reflected upon the video. It's okay, it's a very informal session. Yeah. Teacher Nat seems like she has something on her.
Ready to share.
Oh, ready to share.
I think mainly the whole video focus a lot on scaffolding, right? So it focuses on like the fact that every children has different needs, and then you have to observe them and then kind of figure out what is the scale of assistance that that specific child needs. So maybe some children need more help, some children need less help. So how you help them also differs from there. So actually based on the questions that you asked, one example was that recently during free play there were children in my class who were playing with Legos in general. So one of the child was trying to build a simple tall tower using the Legos, but he had difficulty doing so. He kept stacking up the big Legos on top of the small Legos, so it wasn't really that balanced, so the tower kept falling over. So I actually sat beside him and kind of commented on what he was doing. So I was saying that these blocks are actually very wobbly when they're tall. Let's try to put a bigger block at the bottom and then see whether that works instead. So I used the strategy of suggesting with him, and then through that support, the child actually began to experiment with different blocks, like trying to put small blocks first and then big blocks and then mixing it and experimenting. So finally he managed to put the bigger block at the bottom and then he stacked the smaller blocks on top. So it successfully became a tower. Yeah. So actually it reflects a lot on Vygotsky's idea that learning occurs in the zone of proximal development, because what the child can do independently and what they can do with guidance plays a big role. Then the second question is, how did you decide when to step in and how much support to provide in that situation? I honestly stepped in only once I saw that he was getting very frustrated, because he was doing okay, but after about 3 to 4 times seeing that the towel kept falling down, he got very upset and he was about to give up. Yeah, so that was when I stepped in and then realized that he was stuck just slightly beyond his current ability. So I kind of provided minimal targeted support, such as pointing out that the bigger blocks should go first, followed by the smaller blocks. And then I also modeled it, so I created a tower of my own in front of him, and then from there he kind of picked up what I did and then followed the same thing as well. Yeah. Then what did I say or did during the play to help the child think, explore or use? I mainly used a lot of observation, so while I was looking at all the children engaged, that was when I picked up that he was having difficulties compared to the other children, so that's why I approached him first. And then I tried to keep my prompts very simple, like pointing out exactly what was happening or what he needed to do to help himself. Yeah.
I think what teacher Nat mentioned, right, is a lot more on like what are some of the strategies that she has already done in class, inclined with Vygotsky theory of ZPD, as well as how she supported children through scaffolding. I also kind of like that she didn't give the children like the direct problem solving skill or the answer, yet she just suggests like or point out things so that the child is able to experiment and try out and hence find a way to solve the problem. Yeah, so thanks for sharing your experience in class based on the video. So maybe for teacher Joe and teacher Renee, we can put on hold your thoughts first. Yeah, because I think teacher Nat shared quite a bit of the information on Vygotsky theory and how she put in place in class. So later maybe when we talk about more about petal or other things, you can also add on your inputs. And that's it. So the purpose of the meeting, like what I have mentioned, is to strengthen intentional scaffolding, support children's social and emotional competencies, and to use petal to guide everyday decisions. Yes, so all of you are now over here, teacher's decision. So whatever you have decided on, like what teacher Nat mentioned, she observed how the child was behaving in the class, and therefore she decided on the strategy of suggesting or to point out, and then it will affect the child's learning, which in turn the child is able to problem solve by himself or herself. Yeah, so today's purpose is to really get you to identify the right time and right space to intervene and scaffold based on children's ZPD as well. Yeah. Okay, so before we go in depth into the theory portion, now it's time for you to take a break, right? So I want you to, because every time a teacher wants to implement anything in class or to be even in the class, the teachers are the one that needs to be regulated first, right? So you need to be regulated, calm, and in the setting before you can also guide the children. So I also want you to sometimes practice a bit of mindfulness, right? In the class, when there's a lot of things going on, you can take a break to pause. Yeah, so maybe first we can try this out. Take 3 slow breaths. Okay, so after these 3 slow breaths, you feel your heartbeat going slower, being more calm. Then I want you to think about 2 things that you are grateful for over the weekend, because today is Monday, right? And suppose like things have happened over the weekend that you would feel grateful for, and also share 1 thing you look forward to this week, because today is only Monday. Okay? So what is something that you're looking for to push you through the week to the next weekend? Yeah, maybe anybody ready, you can share first. Maybe one of you, yeah, you can just take it off. 2 things you are grateful for over the weekend.
For me, okay, one is a bit unconventional because I had a Saturday class
during the weekend. One might think that it's a bit draggy, but actually I was quite grateful for it over the weekend. Why? Because it's a lesson on MSD, and because I'm in the Nurture Kids committee, right? A lot of the theories that were introduced during that lesson, and a lot of the play that was introduced, and how to actually create differentiated learning for MSD was actually introduced during that lesson, 3-hour lesson. And I thought it was very useful because the lecturer didn't just give us differentiated ideas, but more of like, okay, if this is too difficult, what can we do? So whenever a teacher suggested, we tried. Whatever a teacher suggested, we tried. So it was a lot of thinking, a lot of implementing that, a lot of brain work over the Saturday, and I felt that it was very good because then it gave me a new perspective of how I can also like share with my committee and how I can share with the teachers in the future workshops. So I was quite grateful for this lesson because he's from Hong Kong. So he only came for these 2 days, like Friday and Saturday. So I was quite grateful that I attended the class because honestly a lot of the students did attend, so I thought I was quite grateful that I attended so that's one of the reasons why I felt grateful. And then another thing is that I had my family reunion over the weekend. We went to eat. Actually, I mean, it's like usually during reunion you remind yourself like how nice it is to like slow down, eat together. So I thought that it's something that a lot of times we forget to do. So I thought that I'm quite grateful to also have a time to remind myself to slow down. And then one thing I look forward to this week is that as in this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going JB. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing, teacher Renee. Anybody else?
I look forward to this week. Actually, I thought the meaning was I look forward to during the week. So, yeah, to push me through to the weekend. But very weirdly, but then I kind of look forward to the Chinese New Year practice, performance practice. Yeah, I thought it was very fun. And then it's great to see how they are like picking up the different skills that they have learned, and then how to because now we are preparing for the rehearsal, so to see it coming together was quite rewarding and fun. So I'm looking forward to that, and then after that, I can do and then it will be the weekend. So that's
Interesting to be looking forward to.
I mean, it's interesting.
Not anything on the share?
I guess I'm grateful because last week was a bit of a busy week for me and my Laoshan. Because we were taking turns falling sick. Yeah, so the weekend was just a bit more slower for me to catch my breath. And then I actually, for the first time, went out to the beach and took a walk alone. Yeah,
Wow.
usually I would for someone else to go with me because the thought of going there alone is a bit much for someone with social anxiety. So I think that's a big applause. Then other than that, I'm looking forward to this weekend because I'm meeting a few of my friends who haven't met from school for about 2 to 3 years.
So it's a catch-up session.
Yeah.
That's nice. So it's good that sometimes if we are amidst of all the busyness, right, you also pause and to think back of things you're grateful for and things that you want to look forward to. At least your week will pass by more fruitful and more like exciting. Yeah, so for myself, actually my weekends are usually the same because as a person with a family, right? So but weekend I cherish a lot because I get to spend time with my daughter, to go out and play, and then just not to think about work. I think that's the main thing. And then of course looking forward will also be to finish the week off in the center, right, and then look forward to the next weekend again. So it's really just a recurring thing that unless I have like a holiday or things planning up. Yeah, of course the next one is like Chinese New Year. Yes, so that's for me. And then before we continue, right, I want to get you to think about today's session. Like what would make this discussion meaningful for you? Before we even have any discussion later on. Like what is one thing that you think through this discussion will be meaningful for you instead of like sitting through another session? you a few minutes to think about it. Then I will send the link to you in our Google chat. Then I need you to open the slide and then include one post-it to write one maybe something that make this discussion meaningful for you. For example, it can be like finding out things that you can implement in class, or for example, it can be like how to strengthen your classroom management skills, or anything along the line that based on the video that you have watched can be something that you want to consider, or even something else that you want us to talk in the future that will benefit you back in the class, personally or in the class or in the center, anything along that line. Okay, so over here I'll send a link and maybe we can take 3 to 5 minutes to think about it. Okay. Let me share. Actually cannot edit the Jodie at the bottom.
Oh.
So you need to go to the element to create one more post-it. So there's your name inside. Okay? Ah yeah, that's the name then. Yeah,
Why is it my full name?
It's just really Tan.
Because that's your account name.
Oh.
Actually, it's the reason why I don't want to create post-it for you. So at least for your names inside.
Yeah.
So actually this portion right is also let you think about like to get your own learning in your hand. So what are the things you want to learn, what are the things you want to discuss, you write it down. So that as you talk about it, yeah.
Your somebody's full name is even longer.
Oh my god.
That's why you need to be it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep
Wait, how do you add this?
There's
Yes.
also elements and
What do you guys?
S.
Yes.
S.
Then you post it.
Try. You can make that one out.
Press S.
Oh.
Oh, amazing.
What?
Like a dinosaur.
Don't say that. I only just learned because when you go element right, and then when you search like sticky note, they will show you the quick cards here. So then you will know next time what.
When? Oh.
Nice.
Yeah. So a lot of times when you search the first time, they will show you what's the.
Wait, where do I see the quick cards again?
You search sticky notes under element.
Oh.
Then the quick add, is it for quick add? Just press
Really?
S.
Oh, wait, yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What is yours did you do?
Because my account is
So
closed.
I tried to write Malay card and then
My-
you
It's so government.
government. Nice. Overflowing.
Still need to change the font.
No, I just like this font. I just like this font. She's not done with the writing, so I just thought to add my own font.
Is everybody done? Okay, that not
I'll pull it for you so there's more space.
I'm not ready that long. I love that picture.
Okay, maybe it takes some time to read at each other's writing. So have a bit of sensing on like where are we at right now at this time. So I think most of you talk a little bit about personal experiences, doing reflection and learning together as a team. Right? They are learning from each other. So I think over here this session just want to reassure you that during this session is really nothing that is right or wrong. It's really for you to reflect upon your own classroom practices and then to share and bounce off each other ideas. Okay, so I will move on to the next portion. Then maybe at this part you can close your screen. And open. Maybe what's this?
So you can see the quick cards, Control Alt P, then you can present.
Control what?
Control Alt P.
Oh, right.
Then they will show you.
Oh.
Camera is actually very user
Oh my
friendly.
god, we're the
Yeah.
same age.
Quick card is
Embarrassing.
Why embarrassing you?
Embarrassing.
You.
We're the
Can-
same age.
Camera is very friendly. They will show you the quick cards like very very often.
That's nice. So let's move on. So over here, right, I mentioned children learn through relationship. What do you see with these three photos? Like three pictures, sorry, that I put up.
One with adults,
Okay.
and one children doing by themselves.
Okay, so with these pictures and the words over here, right, what do you think we are going to talk about?
Creating a safe environment to the relationship of your adult and the child.
So I think a lot of times, right, when children are learning, they don't learn independently, right? Independently, of course, is ultimately at the end of the stage when they have the confidence and then they can do things independently. But before that, right, children learn through relationship building, learning through people around them, or even an adult guiding. So this is an example I want to share with you. For example, if a child is starting to learn how to rollerblade, where of course starting part is there's an adult guiding, holding on, and then having the confidence to try and to skate by himself or herself, and then child succeeding. You see, you can see the smile, the confidence, and even following her peers to blade the ground. So I think ultimately what we are trying to do here today is to find out how we can get a child from being guided to gaining the confidence to try and then finally succeeding on his or herself. Okay. And so that's what we are talking about. Like I think not just now when we are doing the reflection, we talk a little bit on the zone of proximal development and where learning needs support. So maybe Teacher Joe, can you share with me a bit of your knowledge of the ZPD?
Well, from what I know is the middle ground between children who needs. That means if the child cannot, let's see. So that means the child can do what the child can do and what the child potentially can do is the middle ground that you would need to provide. So that's where the teacher would come in to bridge the gap. So depending, and that would depend on where the level the child is and where the level that the child can go. So it is differentiated.
I think like what Joe has mentioned, right? Like the outer layer is what the child cannot do even with assistance. So then the middle layer is a zone of proximal development whereby what the child can do with assistance. So ultimately this portion, like what Joe mentioned, is the gap, right? That we can be the one that give a push, and then what the child can do independently with the guidance, then we want to push. Because if the child is already here, can do independently, do you think we need to step into scaffold? Because it's already at a competency. Like what Joe mentioned, is more like a differentiated instruction or differentiated support that you can give the child. So based on teachers' facilitation, guiding, and then we want to influence the child's learning. And like what Joe mentioned, when do you think we need to scaffold? It's really at the middle gap, whereby we do see some potential in this child, but he or she needs a little bit of support from us. So that's the portion that we step in to support the child. Okay? So scaffolding with intentional teaching strategies. So there are a few ways that you can scaffold a child during in that gap. So first is to model the language. So model language meaning, like just now Nat mentioned, right? Instead of just giving the answer, you can ask certain questions, or you can even use like words to say that, oh, I think this is a bit wobbly, right? So how can we make it more stable? So that is using of the language to guide the child. Asking guiding questions, like you can guide the child by asking questions like, what do you think works better? Can we do that? Gigi, will you be here?
First of all,
Oh, it's fine. It's just recording.
sorry, I didn't know.
Why the take? I will cut that away.
Then I go
here. Sorry,
Okay. I thought like a confidential thing.
I like she's conveniently home.
I
Go and see whether still recording.
I haven't even said anything. She be like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're just look at me also.
Okay. Sorry, Jean. Just for maybe later after finishing you.
I put that.
Maybe
first.
then and later.
What time you all finish?
2:50. Never mind. Where did I stop?
Scaffolding,
But
like
we
for
pause,
not
right? No, you don't pause.
not doing modeling language, asking questions.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a part.
Yeah, so I think a lot of examples that Nat mentioned just now, or the things that she mentioned, is really to kind of different ways to scaffold children into solving a problem, right? And not directing the way to solve the problem. So like even co-regulating emotions, for example, if the child is having an outburst, instead of asking the child or give them really answers to regulate, you can be maybe describing, oh, teacher Jolie when teacher Jolie feels upset, I might use my finger really to cool down. So these are examples of way you can co-regulate emotion. Encouraging peer support is also like what teacher Jo mentioned, right? Differentiated learning. So sometimes we might identify children that need higher support and lower support, and we might find a pair that matches to support each other. Because a lot of times, especially we are having a large group, right, in class, we won't be able to, have one-to-one with all children. So by, observing the children, understanding where they are, we can also put them into small groups or pair work to support each other. And finally, is to step back. Yeah. When do you think we can step back? How does stepping back support scaffolding for you?
I think when we ask guiding questions, what we want is for intentionally for the children to provide answers and think of ideas. So by stepping back, we are allowing the children to actually experiment and explore these of their thoughts instead of directing, like what teacher Jolie said, like instead of telling them, okay, you should be doing this, we ask them like, how can we make sure that the tower don't drop? So at this point, we shouldn't be taking the blocks and doing the children, really stepping back and observing how the children take the information and what are they doing with the information that we shared, whether or not they are actually trying to use a different way, and if not, then we can fall back on the other strategies to try again.
So I think by identifying different scaffolding strategies, right, will also support you into knowing when to support the child and what kind of strategies to support the child. Okay. Have you seen this poster before? Yes. So what approach is this?
Principles of teaching and learning.
Like not approach. Oh, principles of teaching. I didn't say that.
Okay, so right, I mentioned here principles of teaching and learning too. Children are curious, capable, and active learners empowered through petal approach. Because for teaching and learning, principles of teaching and learning, right, there are 5 different ones. So in one of them, which is principles of teaching and learning too, it talks about how children are curious, capable, and active learners empowered through petal approach. Yeah, so how do we use petal to decide on how to scaffold the child? So today, we talk a little bit more about this child being in the middle of, the petal, and each petal represents different things. Like Jo just now she remembered, right? We have playing, learning occurs through hands-on activities. Like maybe while I'm reading this, you can reflect upon the lessons that you have done in the school ready section. I think Joe and Nat is a new like section for you, it's a new level for you. Maybe you can also identify a bit on this, how you see this petal in our school ready curriculum, because you mentioned that educare also have, right? But it might be slightly different in the school ready lesson. Yeah, so playing, being hands-on experience, exploring opportunity for self-exploration, allow children to make discoveries and connections. So what are the things that they can try and practice to find out new information? Thinking will be children are challenged to solve a problem, right? And then applying learning, children can apply new acquired information in new learning situations. Maybe based on what Nat mentioned just now, the example, can you identify where is it at?
Exploring and applying learning. So after what I shared, he was exploring different ways to solve the problem, and then he applied the learning as well, because at the end he managed to build the tower.
So I think a lot of times petal approach is something that we use to, guide, like it's an approach that we use in the curriculum, right? To ensure that, we have activities that is hands-on, we have opportunity for children to explore, we have also opportunity for children to feel challenged and to find a way to solve a problem. And hence, with that learning in place, they can apply what they have learned to a new situation. Aligning petal approach to the lesson structure. Okay, so just now we talked about the petal stage, right? Playing, exploring, thinking, and applied learning. And then educators scaffolding. So what do you do at a playing stage? Right? You can co-regulate, you can model. So when the children are playing, you can do it together or you can model the action. Then during exploring stage is more of prompting the action. What's next, or questioning. What do you think can happen if you stack this together? What do you think you can do to make sure that the structure do not fall? So really using different prompting and questions. And then, so what will the educators do? You will invite children's interest, wondering, and exploration. So through this, you can get children to play based on their interests. Thinking. So thinking portion at the petal stage is on how you scaffold reflective dialogue. Means you get children to reflect upon what they are doing and then you find new thinking. Facilitate children's discovery and acquisition of new learning. So the thinking stage is a lot of times for children to reflect and to find out, through this experiment, what have I gained? For example, if they do a hands-on experiment of like float and sing. So based on this new thinking, right? When you ask them something else, they can use what they have learned here. This kind of thing sing, this kind of thing float. Then when they have a new situation, they can apply whatever they have learned to the new situation. For example, over here, after they have think and reflected about the new learning, they can apply what they have learned. So what is your role stepping back? Because they already gained the new knowledge. So for us as educators is to step back and then support children's application of new learning. Because sometimes, right, we don't give children enough time or enough opportunity to try out what they have gained. Over here, understand? Or you need any more? Kind of get it in your own lesson and everything, right? I think. So let's put theory into action. So just now that part is the theory, right? So now based on this situation, we have a child becoming frustrated during group play and withdraw from the peers. So they are playing together. Just nice that I mentioned the little. Yeah. What is this? No, I didn't play the timer. Yeah, so the child walks away. Why like that? Wait, how do I remove this?
Not the minimize. Maybe just minimize.
Minimize what?
Eh?
Why like that? Why like that? Sorry. Oh, okay.
That's Canva. I think that was the system.
Okay, so first, right, some of the questions to ask yourself for discussion is, where is the child's ZPD, right? What petal stage is this? How would you scaffold the child? Child meaning this child. Right. So now at this page, right? So now maybe I give you around 5 minutes to discuss, and then after discussing, then you can share. One, first, what does the child need? Second, where is the stage, petal stage at? And then last, what is your teacher's response in terms of how you scaffold this child? You all can start discussing, then maybe after discussion, you can share and I will type it in, like a working document. Okay? I can show you the petal stage again.
How is frustrated when withdraw from peers?
I think they need co-regulation first. The child is frustrated, right? I mean, she's walking away from the play already, so she might need some help with regulating.
The emotions,
Yeah.
Mm.
And then I think it's a process, right? First we regulate and then model maybe how to calm down, and then we can explore what's the problem. Like why are you walking away? What's making you frustrated? I think it's when she's more calm and she's more willing to share, then she will share why she's upset.
Mm.
And
Then maybe after she shares why she's upset, then we can kind of prompt her to share about how she thinks or what she thinks we can do to help her solve that problem, instead of giving her the answer, like give guiding questions. Why do you think the tower fall down, something like that? Or what do you think you can do to help the tower remain stable?
Mm. So it's like providing guiding question to kind of let the child be able to solve the problem. Okay, so maybe we write over.
can press T
Yes.
But that's not that's education.
Okay. So first, based on just now the discussion, right, we talked about the child walking away and then looking quite frustrated, right? So first, what do you think the child needs?
Emotional regulation.
Emotional regulation. Besides emotional regulation, just now Nat was mentioning, after the emotional regulation, it will be
Prompting of why is she feeling frustrated?
so really prompting of
Why she's frustrated and
Problem.
yeah, problem solving, I guess.
prompting of feelings,
Yeah.
feeling of frustration, and
And
problem solving.
yeah, problem solving.
Okay. Let me just. Eh, put back.
I wanted to help you adjust.
Okay.
She's like, oh, I'm scared also. I just trying to help her adjust the size.
Okay. Petal stage.
Just playing, right?
Yeah.
Moving on towards exploring the style.
I think depending on the context, right? So just
Actually,
now.
it's all like technically, because like playing then exploring, then after that she have to think like how.
But haven't yet, because that stage only
Still frustration.
Haven't even regulate children. Haven't even start to explore, right? It's really during the playing stage, okay? Then the next one, teacher's responses. So how do you scaffold her during the
She
stage?
came right. I think you never press properly just now.
Yeah. Okay, then you write.
I just noticed. Sorry. What was the teacher's response?
What's the teacher's response? Like just now, I think Renee mentioned, right, about the emotional regulation to co-regulate with the child. So what do you think are some of the things you can say?
I can see that you're feeling frustrated right now. Maybe you would like to share why you are feeling that way or what happened.
Okay. I can see that you're feeling frustrated now.
Maybe you can share what is wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
I also forgot.
Then maybe after they shared about like, oh, because it's the blogs and something like that, then you can acknowledge their response, and then you can say like, oh, when I'm frustrated, I used to do this. Would you like to follow like some strategies to calm down their emotions first? Like what did you really say about the counting, breathing, right?
Yeah, the finger
finger breathing.
breathing. Yeah. So what Joe mentioned is more to the co-regulate with the child, right? The modeling of the strategy.
Then when all emotions is slightly better, then maybe you can provide some prompts about like to invite the child to explore different possibilities, like what would happen if you put the bigger block at the bottom, for example, and let's see, like let the child actually move towards the exploratory phase.
I think that's a good point. So instead of just being stuck at the regulation portion, right? So after the child is being regulated, so what is next? So I think what Joe mentioned is also good. As in sometimes you also need to keep the petal approach at the back of your mind. So after playing stage, what is next? So she was trying to move the child forward to the exploring stage. Ultimately, after exploring is thinking, right? Reflecting on what the child has learned. And then finally with that, then can apply what the child has learned as well. So, which one I'm going right first? I'm just okay, so moving forwards towards exploring. Okay. Okay, can. So based on this practice, I have a you see I must press P. Okay. I cannot do this. Okay, but yeah. So based on what you have mentioned, right, I think all of you are very aware of how to put the scaffolding, into action, as well as knowing the ZED of the child. So now I need you to think of one action you will take. So after this discussion, because you need to put whatever you have learned into your real life practice, right, back into class, right? Yeah. So in this week, in your class, right, I want you to think of one situation of a child in a class, and think about where is this child at, based on the petal, and then what scaffolding strategy you can identify, and what is the intended outcome. Intended outcome meaning after you apply this scaffolding strategy, what do you want the child to achieve? Okay, so that will be one last part for you to put whatever you have learned, because we also need to apply learning now. Your right? Your thing reflect right now. Then you need to apply your learning. So now you have to try to
Evolution.
Exactly.
Why did I not think of this?
So now can I have all of you, right, to open up the slide again, to create a slide on your own. So each of you write one situation, one stage, and one strategy, and one outcome. That will be something that
Maybe I do already.
you can write down.
Oh.
Yeah, so we can use that as, or if let's say, I think the main thing is for you to kind of reflect and think about in your class currently, right? Who are the children that you would like to support in, and how you want to scaffold this learning. Maybe we spend around, how much time do we have? 5 minutes. Maybe you spend the last 5 minutes doing this.
What specific child?
I think depending. So let's say if this child in a group setting, it can be during routine care, it can be during small group learning that you feel that this child needs a bit of the scaffolding. So for teacher not, you can use just now an example, or you have other children that you want to try to support, then you can put that example in. Yeah.
Can write the children or just write child? Child.
I think just the first, the initial.
Child alphabet.
Yeah. Renee, I saw that you're writing about the child, right? Sharing toys, that portion.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe at the petal stage, right, you can think about during this situation, right, where is the child at? Is it at playing or is it at the exploring stage with the activities or where? Because now what I'm seeing is when you mention during playing is co-regulate his emotion. Is it like now he's at playing stage or?
I think now he is at playing stage in a way where because he's upset, right, sitting at the side, to show that to his friends and his teacher that he's upset. I think he should co-regulate first before like we can find out what the problem is.
So maybe you can like bracket there. So he's at the playing stage. Then after that you can move forward to the exploring stage. Yeah, I think what you are writing there is good, like all the examples and the things that can be checked. before I stop the video, yeah, just wanted to share with you that based on this reflection, I also want you to try to use this like in your day-to-day practices. At times when you're observing the children, also think about where is the child at in terms of the ZPD, and then our better approach on playing, exploring, thinking, and applying learning, and also how as educator we can do to support and scaffold this child's learning. Okay, so maybe after this you just finish up your last bit of the one action, and then we can stop the session here. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, then at least I can stop the video.